You are the brave yet gentle Orpheus, a young man from the peaceful village of Elis. You and Helene, the fairest maiden in all of Peloponnesus, have sworn your eternal love for one another. One tragic day, Helene fell victim to the fangs of a venomous serpent and perished. While grieving, you hear the voice of the goddess of love, Aphrodite, urging you not to give up hope and that you can save Helene from Hades, god of the underworld, who intends to take Helene as his queen. This is how your quest begins. Before I get into the review, I just wanted to mention that I recently picked up a Mister, and while most of the footage captured here is from my actual cartridge, I did play it on my Mister for a single Twitch stream just to test it out, so you'll get to see some Mister footage mixed in here. That makes the Battle of Olympus the first time I've ever played on a Mister, and I have to say it felt just like the real thing. The Battle of Olympus is a single-player action platformer which features Metroidvania-style exploration and progression in a Greek mythological setting. The game was released in 1990 and was developed by a team consisting of only 3 people, which is an incredibly impressive feat. The designer of the game drew inspiration from Zelda 2, and that inspiration really shines through in many aspects of the game, including Orpheus's walking animation. Another game that comes to mind when reflecting on my time with the Battle of Olympus is Faxanadu, as they both have similar gameplay elements and their own unique charm. In the Battle of Olympus, you use the A button to jump and the B button to attack. You begin the game with a club, but you'll discover more powerful weapons like the Staff of Fennel and the Divine Sword, which you can swap between on the pause screen. The Staff of Fennel and the Divine Sword both have projectile attacks that you can perform by pressing up and B, but something to keep in mind is that the Divine Sword's projectile attack, the Power of Argus, will drain your health when you use it unless you have the Bracelet of Power. Defeated enemies may drop little blue shards that restore a bit of health, or olives, which you'll use as currency and to make offerings to the gods. There are 2 specific enemies that I'd like to call out for being super annoying early in the game. The bats, which always seem to swoop down at the perfect angle to avoid getting hit while still hitting you, and the birds that drop rocks on your head, which do tons of damage until you get some protective equipment. I swear, it's always bats and birds in NES games. You'll also fight a few more powerful foes like the Lion of Nemea, who was slain by Hercules in myth. This lion will viciously prance at you as it attempts to have you as its next meal. On one occasion while fighting this lion, it was magically imbued by the gods with unusual new powers and ended up running along the ceiling and off the screen. Other mythological monsters like the Hydra, Lamia, and Cerberus, the 3-headed fire-breathing dog, will attempt to end your quest, so you'll need every ounce of your bravery and skill if you want to stand any chance of rescuing your beloved Helene. In Greek mythology, the gods are very real and enjoy meddling in the affairs of mortals. You'll get to meet some of these gods, in fact, and the more generous gods will grant you magical items. A few examples include Hermes, who will give you the Sandals of Hermes, which allow you to jump higher and walk on certain ceilings, and Athena, who bestows upon you the Shield of Athena, which blocks certain projectiles. Other gods are less benevolent, like Ares, who demands 80 olives as tribute to obtain the Bracelet of Power. If you attempt to lie to Ares and say you have 80 olives when you actually don't, he'll admonish you and take away your magical sandals as punishment. This was kind of shocking to me, and while I was a little annoyed that I had just lost my precious sandals, I have to admit that it was pretty cool that Ares, the god of war, displayed some of his fiery mythological temper. These gods will also beckon you to hear the word of the gods. The word of the gods serves as your password, so you don't have to beat the whole game in a single sitting. If you end up succumbing to your wounds, you'll be presented with the option to continue or retry. Selecting continue will start you closer to where you died, but you'll lose half of your olives, and any consumable items you may have used will remain consumed. Retry will send you back to the most recent temple you visited, but you'll be in the same state you were in when you spoke to the god there. You can use this to your advantage, so be sure to make your choice wisely. The aforementioned password system is a godsend, pun fully intended, since the Battle of Olympus can be a bit of a long game. You'll find yourself exploring many locations in ancient Greece, such as Attica, Pythia, Argolis, Peloponnesus, Laconia, Crete, Phrygia, and finally Tartarus, the domain of Hades and the prison of your beloved Helene. Navigating between these locations can be confusing and tricky, and you may find yourself frequently turned around or unsure of where to go next, so it can be helpful to make a map. As is typical in Metroidvania games, you'll need to find items that can help you access certain areas of the game, like the ocarina, which will summon a rideable dolphin for long and treacherous voyages across the sea, or the harp, which can summon Pegasus at these little statues who will fly you to different areas. If you decide to give the Battle of Olympus a shot for yourself, you may notice another element which adds to the amount of time it takes to complete the game: the farming. You'll have to collect lots and lots of olives to obtain certain items. There's also a portion of the game where you'll find yourself in a den of relentlessly vicious salamanders. You'll have to defeat them for a chance to obtain their skins, and if you present the witch Circe 20 of these salamander skins, she will grant you the flame-resistant salamander shield. If you do finally manage to find the gates of Tartarus and begin exploring the underworld, you must exercise extreme caution. The underworld is a confusing place, and entering certain doors will cause you to be teleported far away, frustratingly losing much of the progress you've made. If you have the perseverance, you'll eventually find Helene, who has been slowly turned into a statue, and face off against Hades in a fight which is very reminiscent of the final boss fight of Zelda 2, only even more devious. You'll need a certain item to reveal Hades, and thematically this fight is exceptional because this item only allows you to see his reflection in the water below until you knock off his magic hat. This results in one of the most memorable final boss fights on the NES, and a challenging one as well. The Battle of Olympus is not what I'd call a perfect game, but it's an extremely good game that's well worth your time, even if you aren't a fan of Greek mythology. I highly recommend it to anyone that enjoys a challenge and is either a fan of Metroidvania games or just a fan of action platformers in general. I give the Battle of Olympus a mythical 4 out of 5. The fairest maiden in all is Faxanadu, as they both have a similar poop. And Cerberus, the three-headed, I didn't put another word there, just the three-headed.